Hi, y'all. This is Michelle Cooper with Board Docs. Today I'm going to walk you through what a typical building out of an agenda and building an agenda item and the full life cycle of that item is. But keep in mind, this is if I am a super user. So the difference is before I was able to show you what a submitter would present and how to build and how to submit and get things on the agenda. Now I'm going to act as if I am a city clerk, county commissioner clerk, and build an agenda with what we call super user permissions. So what that means is you're the Wizard of Oz of Board Docs. You have the ability to do anything that anybody in Board Docs can do. So I can create meetings, I can edit meetings, I can make them active, I can also make those last minute changes and really build out throughout the whole system. So the first step is I'm going to log into Board Docs using my username and password, and it takes me to the feature page, and these are all the items and meetings and events and projects that we're working on. I can access those items if I need to by going here, but today we're going to start by building out a new agenda. You can build in as many different templates as you want. So for instance, if economic development follows along with a different template than what we typically do with city council, you have that ability to just go and grab that specific agenda. So what I'm going to do is I am going to take the draft that we have here of, let's grab a good one. Here we go. So I'm going to grab I'm going to grab Franklin. I liked the agenda that was built. So what I'm going to do is instead of changing the agenda that I had last meeting, I want to keep everything in record order for the last meeting, but I'm going to right click and duplicate. So this way I'm not having to start from scratch on items that we see each and every meeting. But if, for instance, there is something that is not going to be on this meeting, but it is regularly on the agenda, I'm not removing it from the template. I'm just removing it from this particular meeting. All right, and I do want to duplicate attachments, but what that'll do is give me the ability to just go in and make those small little edits and then republish once this meeting's ready to go. All right, so it's duplicating. And when it takes me back, it's going to say copy of, and it'll save it as today's date. So today is March 2nd. I'm going to go in and edit the meeting details. So I'm going to take copy of out. I want to set this for, I'm very, very ambitious, and I'm going to set it for June. So June 19th, I can change any details here. So I can say this is for our June 19th meeting in 2018. The other thing I can do is if I need to, just keep in mind your numbering schema can be whatever you need it to be. Roman numeral, you can pick from these. You can do stars and stripes if you want to. But for today's purpose, I'm going to click on this one. And also, you may have meetings that are not publicly held. So if that case happens, you can set up a meeting and it can be set to private. So only the members of that meeting receive this, but it's not publicly published for your community. All right, so I'm going to click public and save. Once it saves, then I can go in and I can add minutes, I can edit my video, but in this case, I want to work on the agenda. So I'm just going to go in to view the agenda. All right, with Microsoft Word, we all use it to some extent. We all love it because we've learned to use it and it gives us a lot of functionality. But one of the biggest problems is that a lot of these different companies will say, look, I'm going to take your agenda and turn it into an HTML, or I'm going to work out of Microsoft and I'm just going to put up with the formatting issues. And what I mean by that is with formatting issues, we see last minute changes coming in and Microsoft decides that our numbering schema needs to change completely. Or Microsoft decides indentions don't need to be there anymore, or tables aren't going to look the same. And plus, everybody's working off a different version of Microsoft nowadays. So I want to ensure that if there are multiple contributors, that we're all speaking the same language and the formatting looks the same. All right, one of the other benefits is sometimes things can get moved around or I need to label this something different. So instead of Cookie Monster, I'm going to name this approval of minutes. All right, and it's just as easy as that. If any of these items, categories, or subcategories need to be renamed or changed or deleted, you can. If you need to add a new one, you can add a new category or a new sub-item. All right. And then the best part of this is if I need to move things around, which happens more often than a renaming of a category. But in this case, we've got citizens coming in. We've got a lot of anticipation for this meeting. So we're going to move the citizen comments up. What you'll notice is these things actually automatically renumber and reorder for you. And a lot of time is spent doing this and wrestling in Word, and we sort of put up with it because that's just all we've ever known. So this makes it very, very easy. The other thing I can do is if there are existing items that happen each and every meeting, but the content changes, I can very easily go in and edit and remove any of these, make changes to the language, make changes to any of the attachments. I can even go in and move something from an action item to consent or just discussion or attach different goals to it. So editing something that's already in place is super easy. All right, I'm going to click save. This also may be something that goes from committee to committee. So if that's the case, I can duplicate an item and it never changes this item. It just adds it to another meeting without having to copy and paste and move it from one Word document to the other. So in this case, let's go down and say it's part of Planning Commission. Now it's on the planning meeting. All right. And it doesn't change the numbering schema. It is how it is. So when I get to the planning, if this number schema is not up to date and it needs to be changed, again, I can go in and edit. All right, so what I'm going to do now is build out an item from scratch. From here, I'm going to go up and find a new agenda item. There's my new agenda item. I am going to go up and just like everything with board docs, I work top to bottom. This is the correct meeting. This is the correct category, but if it needs to change, I can. And in this case, I'm going to call it Resolution 123. All right. It is a public item. There may be some additional information for different departments or my legal team or for my counsel, and I can control that in here, but it's a public item. All right. And it's an actionable item. I also want to scroll down here and mark it as resolution, but you don't have to be able to go back and search this item. I can put in resolution 123 and find it either here or searching here. All right, and again, any of these items, I build it out depending on the item, how much detail is needed, how much detail is not. All right, the public content, this is going to be the summary or staff recommendation or background information. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go and grab some text that I've already put together, but I'm also going to type in so that you can see that it can be done either way. All right, so I'm just grabbing this from a resolution that was already put together, and I'm going to drag and drop. This can be dragged and dropped in from anywhere. I can also keep the formatting if it's coming from Word or a PDF that doesn't have a specific protection. All right, so I'm also going to go in here, I'm going to add a new section. So I'm going to say section 3, and I want all of this text to match, so I can go in and change the size. I can go in and change the font. And now that I go back to section 3, I can say I'm just going to write something similar. Well, if it's English, there we go. The clerk of City of it's Friday of Franklin shall approve resolution item 123 during June meeting. All right, I can add tables, I can add pictures, I can add hyperlinks, I can make things bold, I can strike through, I can highlight. I can even drag and drop pictures into this box. And then other times, it may just be an attachment that needs to go along with this item that I don't necessarily want to build out in this rich text editor because it's already in place. So let's go and grab a resolution, and I'm going to put in a Word doc, a screenshot, and then I'm going to put in a PDF. All right. So again, there's no limitation on file type, file size, but we've built out the item, and this is what the public sees. Everybody, including the internal folks that are part of the administrative and also the executive team, will see what you put in public. So no need to recreate this in all three boxes. My administrative team might just need to see a legal document or owner's authorization, things that are not necessarily part of the public information, but this is keeping me from having 2, 3, 4 different versions that I have to keep up with of the agenda. And then lastly, I may want to go into executive content and say, here's my executive summary. And these are going to be recommendations. And excuse me, I'm going to open up another file so I can just sort of pull over some language so you can see what that looks like to copy and paste. All right, and that maintains the formatting. And then finally, I'm going to add another attachment and click save. All right, so that's what it looks like to build an item from scratch. I want to show you the difference. So this is the clerk and the deputy clerk and anybody else who's truly adding items and working in the draft agenda. For those of us that are submitting items, keep in mind if I go up to my future agenda that I added my item to before, I'm going to scroll down to where that category was of all workflow agenda submission items. And here's our resolution, 1, 2, 3, 4. So this is what the clerks will see. They'll always have the ability to be able to see where these item in workflow are, but they'll also be able to go in and create and change and edit and delete items themselves. All right, and then best of all, I can always go in and once a meeting is made active, I'll be able to search it from a public standpoint, at least the public information. But from this standpoint, depending on what my permission level is, I can go in and put resolution here, and it's going to take me back to library items and attachments and specific meetings. So I can put in resolution 1, 2, 3, 4 and get a little bit more specific, and it will take me back not just to that item, but that specific point in time on the agenda where it was discussed, okay? So this is what it's going to look like in search and also navigates me back to that specific agenda. All right. Thank you for your time. If you have any other questions, please let me know. But this is what it looks like for clerk, deputy clerk, anybody in our administration to add a new item.